There's three collisions that are involved in a motor vehicle crash. The first one is that of the car. When the car comes traveling at a speed, it comes to a sudden stop. That's the car hitting something.
And then there's the people inside the vehicle that bounce around kind of like pinballs, and that's the second collision.
At the moment of impact, safety belts absorb the force of the crash of belted occupants. But unbelted occupants remain traveling at the vehicle's original speed.
A lot of people hit the ceiling of the car, the roof of the car. A lot of times they hit the dashboard. We see some really severe chest injuries, but the head injuries really are the worst. Those are the ones that are hardest to do something about.
If you're unbelted, you have a greater risk of being ejected from the automobile. If you're ejected from the vehicle, your risk of injury and death increases about 25 times.
People can move through the air at 100 miles an hour and hit the concrete, hit trees, hit buildings, hit other cars. People that are thrown free of the vehicle never wake up. I mean, those are the people that never come in after a collision because they're just dead. They're just plain dead.
The seatbelt keeps you in the car. In the event of a crash, the main thing it does is it keeps you within the body of the vehicle.
When people are belted, you see a different kind of injury pattern. I mean, there are injuries that we can fix. There are things we can do things about.
The third collision is actually inside the body itself. Your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your brain continuing to travel at 60 miles an hour, and it slams up against the interior components of your body, and that's where you can sustain internal damage that frequently results in the injuries and death that we see.
The seatbelt is the difference between coming in the emergency room from a collision and walking out an hour later, or staying in the hospital for months. You know, and so it's frustrating because they don't have to be hurt that badly.
Cars today are much safer than they were in the past, and they continue to develop new technologies to make them even safer. But all of these new systems still depend upon safety belts to work successfully.
Cars are designed to keep the passenger compartment intact, so they're a tough box, sort of a tough protection shell around you. Many times you can have rollovers, multiple rollovers, but as long as you're safely contained within your seat, those rollovers won't hurt you. The airbag system is designed to be used with a seatbelt. Those airbags deploy with tremendous speed and force. They're designed to be used in conjunction, where the seatbelt keeps you in place, keeps your chest, your torso, and your head in place. The airbags deploy to try to decrease any further damage that may occur.
Seatbelt, you guys.
When you get in the car and you fasten your safety belt, you should make sure that every individual that's in that car does the same thing. Because if you don't, that person who chooses not to wear their seatbelt becomes a missile within the car.
So we had a case, somebody was restrained in the back seat and the front seat passenger wasn't, and as they were ejected through the rear window, they kind of had this atomic headbutt and killed the person behind them. And it's like a 180-pound cannonball that went right through their head.
Every year, more than 3.5 million people are injured in collisions, and over 40,000 people die in crashes.
Probably the most difficult aspect of my job being an emergency physician is informing a family member of the death of a loved one. That occurs in motor vehicle trauma. It's a tragedy. It's the hardest thing for us to deal with. It's even harder when you know that that person could be alive today if they had simply worn a seatbelt.
Always wear a lap belt low and snug across your hips. Always wear a shoulder belt snug across your chest.
More children under 14 years of age die in motor vehicle crashes than any other cause combined. Many parents think that their infant would be safest in their arms, but it's just not true.
It takes superhuman strength really to hold a baby in your lap during an impact. And so the baby usually either hits the dashboard or the windshield and can be ejected. Or whoever's holding the baby isn't belted and the baby gets this kind of a baby sandwich. I mean, babies that are in laps don't survive crashes.
Children are safest in their car seats. Every trip, every time.
I hear a lot of people say, look, I don't need to wear a seatbelt because I'm a great driver, or I don't need to wear a seatbelt because I'm just going, a mile down the road. And I'd say that even if you are an excellent driver, there's a lot of people out there that aren't. And there's a lot of circumstances beyond your control
You need to protect yourself by clicking that seatbelt. That's the best way to protect yourself from injury or death.